Professor Taiwan stood at the front of the lecture hall, his hand moving smoothly across the glowing holographic display. Around the large circular room, students from many different alien species sat in special chairs designed for their bodies. Some had scales, some had feathers, and some looked like they were made of crystal and stone. They all watched the professor with full attention. The academy was the best school in the galaxy, and this was the most important class. Today they would learn about Deathworlds. Deathworlds, Professor Taiwan began, his voice clear and strong, are the most dangerous places in the entire galaxy. They are not just hard to live on, they are impossible to live on. He pressed a button, and Earth appeared in the center of the room, turning slowly. The planet was blue and green and brown, with white clouds moving across its face. It looked beautiful, but the professor's words made it sound like a nightmare. This planet, called Earth, is a perfect example, he continued. Long ago, a species called humans lived here. They were intelligent and creative, but Earth destroyed them. The weather is too violent. The sun sends too much radiation through the air. The creatures living on this planet are deadly. Diseases fill the water and soil. Nothing can survive there without machines and protection suits. The professor walked around the room, making sure every student understood. A Valorian student with blue skin and golden eyes leaned forward. A Zethian with purple skin and 3 fingers on each hand made a sound that meant interest. A Quarian made of white crystal and stone shifted in his seat. They all believed what the professor was saying. It was written in all the books. It was proven by science. The radiation levels are so high that even with protection, explorers can only stay for weeks, Taiwan explained. The atmospheric pressure changes so quickly that it can crush equipment. The storms come without warning and destroy everything. There is no way to adapt to such conditions. No species can ever make this world a home. He showed images on the screen. Images of storms with winds so fast they looked like walls of pure power. Pictures of lightning that split the sky into pieces, charts showing radiation levels in red and orange colors that meant danger. Every image proved that Earth was a death world. Every image showed why no one should ever try to go there. Scientists have tried many times, the professor said. They have sent machines and robots to study the planet. They have sent drones and satellites to collect information. Every mission has the same result. The planet is too hostile. The conditions are too extreme. We have learned that some places in the galaxy simply cannot be conquered. Some places must be left alone. He clicked to another image. Because of this knowledge, we have made new rules. The Galactic Council has decided that no exploration teams can visit Deathworlds anymore. No ships can land on them. No scientists can study them. It is too dangerous. Too many lives have been lost. Some planets must simply be left as mysteries. The professor smiled, as if he had just shared an important truth that would make the students' lives better. This is what keeps us safe, he said. By accepting that some things cannot be explored, we protect ourselves. By understanding that some worlds are impossible, we keep our people alive. A girl in the middle of the room listened to every word. Her name was Minseo. She had black hair and dark eyes. She wore the same uniform as all the other students. No one would have noticed anything special about her. She looked like any other cadet at the academy, but she was listening more carefully than anyone else in the room. Minseo sat very still as the professor talked about radiation and storms and deadly diseases. She did not move or show any emotion on her face, but inside her body something was growing. It was a feeling. It was a need. It was a truth that burned inside her like a fire. The professor finished his lecture. He clicked off the holographic display. The students began to pack their things and get ready to leave. They had learned an important lesson. They knew that Earth was impossible. They knew that Deathworlds could never be explored. They knew these things because Professor Tae-won had told them, and he was an expert. But Min Seo did not move. She sat in her chair while other students walked past her. Some said hello, but she did not answer. She was thinking. She was remembering. She was preparing herself for something that would change everything. The room became empty. Only Min Seo remained, sitting alone in her chair. The professor noticed her and walked over. "Is something wrong?" he asked. "Did you not understand the material?" Min Seo looked up at him. Her dark eyes were calm and steady. "I understand very well," she said softly. "I understand everything you said. But I have to respectfully disagree with your assessment." "Professor?" Tae-won looked surprised. This was unusual. Students did not disagree with professors about proven scientific facts. "What do you mean?" he asked. "This information is correct. It is proven." Min Seo stood up from her chair. She was tall and strong with a kind of confidence that seemed strange for a student. "I walked Earth's surface barefoot," she said clearly. "For 3 years, I walked on the ground with no protection. I lived in the rain and the storms. I breathed the air without any filter. I survived. More than that, I lived a good life there." The professor's face became white. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He tried to speak, but the words would not come. "That is impossible," he finally said. "That cannot be true." "It is true," Min Seo said. She spoke with complete honesty. There was no lie in her words. "I am not from off-world. I was born there. I was raised there. I am human, and everything you just taught these students is incomplete. Earth is not a death world. It is my home." The professor stumbled backward. He could not understand what he was hearing. He looked at the girl again, and suddenly he saw something he had not noticed before. She did not look sick. She did not look like someone who had been exposed to deadly radiation. She looked healthy and strong and alive. She looked like someone who had lived a good life. "The medical tests," he said slowly. "When you arrived at the academy, you must have had medical tests. Did they not show anything?" "They showed many things," Min Seo replied. "But they only looked for problems. They did not look for adaptations. They did not understand that humans can change, that we can learn to live in places the galaxy thinks are impossible." Behind her, through the tall windows of the lecture hall, Earth continued to turn in the holographic display that still floated in the room. The beautiful blue and green planet spun slowly in the darkness of space. It had a secret. It had kept that secret for so long that the galaxy had forgotten it was even possible. But now, standing in this empty classroom, the secret was coming out, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news spread through the academy like a wave of shock and confusion. A human girl had revealed herself in Professor Tae-won's class, a human from Earth, a human who had lived on a death world without protection. The story was everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. Some students did not believe it. Some teachers said it was impossible. But Min Seo was still there, and she was still alive, and that made it very hard to deny. The academy's director, a tall Valorian named Kraven, called Min Seo to his office. The office was large and bright, with windows that looked out onto the stars. Kraven's skin was deep blue like the ocean, and his eyes were gold and kind. He sat behind a desk made of materials from 10 different planets. "Min Seo," he said gently, "I need to understand what you told Professor Tae-won. Is it really true? Did you really live on Earth without protection?" Min Seo sat in a chair across from him. She was calm and steady. "Yes, Director Kraven, it is true. I was born there. I grew up there. I lived there for 23 years before I came to this academy." Kraven leaned back in his chair. He was old and wise and had seen many strange things in the galaxy. But this was new even for him. "Tell me your story," he said. "Tell me everything. From the beginning. I want to understand how this is possible. Minseo took a deep breath. She had known this question would come. She had prepared for it. A long time ago, humans lived all over Earth. They built cities and machines. They created technology. They were like many species in the galaxy. But then something happened. The Earth changed. Or perhaps humans had changed it too much. The weather became more violent. The radiation increased. Many humans died. She paused, remembering things that were written in old books and told in old stories. Things that had been passed down through her family for thousands of years. Most humans died or left the planet, Minseo continued. They escaped in ships and went to other worlds. But some humans could not leave. Some humans were left behind. They had to find a way to survive. They had to learn to live with Earth, not against it. Kraven listened with complete attention. He did not interrupt. He did not make sounds of disbelief. He simply listened. Over many generations, humans changed, Minseo said. Not through machines or science in the way the galaxy does it. We changed naturally. We changed because we had to. Our bodies learned to resist radiation. Our cells learned to repair themselves better. Our immune system became stronger. Our senses became sharper. We learned to read the planet's moods. We learned to know when storms would come. We learned where to find water and food. We learned to live with Earth instead of fighting it. She stood up and walked to a small window in the director's office. Through it, she could see the academy campus. Everywhere, students from different species walked together, beings made of flesh and bone and crystal and light. All learning together, all believing they were the only truly advanced species. The galaxy thinks Earth is a death world, Minseo said. But it is only deadly if you fight it, if you try to use machines and technology to change it, if you see the planet as your enemy. But if you understand it, if you learn its patterns, if you respect it, it is beautiful, it is alive, it is full of wonder. She turned back to face Kraven. We have small cities underground. We have homes built into the mountains where they are safe from the worst storms. We have learned which foods are safe to eat. We have learned which plants heal us. We have learned to move through the radiation storms by following the paths that creatures take. The creatures that evolved there long before we did. They know the safe ways. They show us. Kraven stood up from his desk. He walked to a cabinet and took out a special device. It looked like a small crystal that glowed with soft blue light. This is a genetic scanner, he said. It will tell me if you are really human, or if you are something else entirely. Minseo nodded. She held out her arm. The scanner moved slowly along her skin. It made soft sounds as it collected information. The light changed colors, going from blue to green to yellow to red, and back again. Finally, it stopped making sounds. Kraven looked at the results in his mind. His face showed surprise. His mouth opened slightly. "This is incredible," he whispered. "Your DNA is human, absolutely human, but it is also different. You have structures I have never seen before. Your cells have multiple repair systems. Your immune markers are impossibly advanced. Your entire biology seems designed to survive extreme conditions." He looked directly at Minseo. "How is this possible? How did this happen?" "Evolution," Minseo said simply. "Over thousands of years, the humans who survived Earth developed new abilities. Not all at once, slowly, generation by generation. The ones who were stronger survived. The ones whose bodies could handle the radiation had children who could also handle it. The ones who could sense danger survived. Their children inherited that ability. This is how nature works. This is how all species adapt to their worlds." Kraven sat back down. He seemed to need a moment to understand what this meant. If this is true, then everything we know about Deathworlds is wrong. Every planet we thought was impossible to live on might have evolved life, might have beings living there right now, beings we do not even know exist. Yes, Minseo said. That is exactly right. The director called for his assistant. A small quarian made of white and gray crystal came into the room. I need you to arrange for a full research team, Kraven said. The best scientists we have. I want complete genetic analysis. I want historical records. I want everything we can find about Earth and human evolution. And I want it done with the highest level of security. This must not leak to the media or the council until we understand it completely. For the next several days, Minseo underwent tests. Doctors from many different species examined her. They took samples of her blood and hair and skin. They studied her brain with machines that could see inside it. They tested how her body responded to radiation and heat and cold. They asked her questions about her life and her family and her world. Every test showed the same thing. Minseo was telling the truth. She was human. She was healthy. She had lived on Earth, and her body proved that it was possible to do so. A quarian scientist named Dai Sung led much of the research. Dai Sung was made of crystal, and his mind was sharp and curious. He studied Minseo's cells with wonder. Your cellular structure is incredible, he told her during one test. You have got multiple redundancy systems that should not exist. Your immune system is operating at a level we have never documented. And most strange of all, your DNA shows evidence of what we can only call adaptive coding. You are literally changing at a genetic level based on environmental stimulus. Minseo smiled. Earth taught us, she said. We learned to listen to what the planet was telling us. We learned to work with it instead of against it. Dae Sung made a sound of amazement. It was a harmonic tone that meant he was very impressed. This changes everything, he said. Everything we believed about Deathworlds. Everything we believed about adaptation. Everything we believed about impossible places. But even as the research proved Minseo was telling the truth, the Academy and the Galactic Council began to worry. If Earth was not a death world, then many plans would have to change. Many resources would have to be used differently. Many ideas about the galaxy would have to be questioned. Some people in power did not want things to change. Some people wanted to keep the old beliefs alive. And so, even as Minseo's story proved to be true, the real challenges were just beginning. The Galactic Council met in a hall so large that it could fit 1,000 beings at once. The ceiling was high and arched, covered with lights that looked like stars. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy sat in specially designed seats. There were Valorians in blue. There were Zethians in purple. There were Quarians that looked like walking crystals. There were species that floated and species that had no fixed shape at all. All of them had come to hear about Minseo and Earth. An old counselor named Hae-Il stood to speak. He was very old, older than most beings in the galaxy. He had lived through many wars and many changes. He did not like change. He did not like ideas that made the galaxy more complicated. This girl, he said, pointing at Minseo, who stood in the center of the hall, claims to be human. She claims to come from a death world, but she proves nothing. One human with strange adaptations does not change what we know about the galaxy. Many counselors made sounds that meant agreement. They nodded their heads or made clicking noises or vibrated in their seats. They had invested much money and resources into the belief that death worlds were impossible. If Minseo was right, then that money and those resources had been wasted. A younger counselor named Ji-Ho stood up. He was interested in new ideas and new discoveries. But the research is clear, he said. The genetic evidence proves that Minseo is human. The medical tests prove she is healthy. The historical records from Earth show that humans have lived there for thousands of years. How can we ignore this proof? Hae-Il made a dismissive gesture with his hand. Proof can be faked. Records can be changed. We should quarantine this girl and study her genetic material in a controlled way. We should not allow this to spread panic or change our policies based on one person's claims. Minseo watched this happen from where she stood. She felt anger growing inside her, but she kept her face calm. She had expected this resistance. She had known that some people would not want to accept the truth. The council voted. The vote was close, but in the end, more counselors wanted to continue investigating than wanted to stop. Minseo was not quarantined, but she was restricted. She could not leave the academy. She could not speak to the media. She could not share her story with the galaxy. The council wanted to control the information. They wanted to decide what was true and what was false. Director Craven was angry about this decision. He called Minseo to his office again. "This is not right," he said. "You have done nothing wrong. You have simply told the truth. The council should be helping us explore this discovery, not preventing it." "They are afraid," Minseo said. She understood how institutions worked. She understood that truth was not always simple. If I am right, then the galaxy's understanding of the universe is wrong. That is a big change. People do not like big changes. But we have to try, Craven said. We have to help them understand. We have to show them that this is not a threat. It is an opportunity. He brought Minseo to meet with other scientists and researchers. They wanted to hear her story in detail. They wanted to understand how Earth had changed humans. They wanted to know about the culture that had developed there over thousands of years. A Zethian named Junho was one of these researchers. Zethians had natural telepathic abilities. They could read minds and communicate without words. When Junho first met Minseo, he opened his mind to understand her. And suddenly, he felt something that shocked him. He felt memories. He felt images. He felt the rain on Earth. He felt the storms. He felt the radiation. He felt Minseo's whole life. Junho staggered backward. "It is all real," he said with wonder in his voice. "Every memory, every experience. You really did live there. You really are human." After this, Junho became Minseo's strong ally. He spoke to other Zethians about what he had experienced. He told them about the truth he had felt in Minseo's mind. Other telepaths also began to sense the truth. They could not deny what they had felt in her memories. But Hae-Il and his supporters were still strong. They controlled much of the council. They controlled the media that the galaxy watched. They spread messages that confused people. They said that Minseo was a trick created by enemies. They said that the research was fake. They said that Earth was still a death world and nothing had changed. 3 months passed. Minseo was kept at the academy. She was studied and questioned and analyzed. But the Galactic Council would not make any official announcement. They would not change the law that said no one could go to death worlds. They would not update the textbooks that said death worlds were impossible. One night, Minseo could not sleep. She walked through the academy gardens. The academy had artificial plants and flowers from many worlds. They glowed with soft lights. They smelled like 1,000 different scents, but none of them smelled like Earth. None of them were real in the way that Earth's plants were real. She found herself in the teaching center where Professor Tae-Wan kept his office. She had not spoken to him since that day in the classroom. She had not seen him since she revealed her secret. She wondered what he was thinking. She wondered if he believed her. She pushed open his office door and found him sitting at his desk, reading old books about Earth. He looked up with surprise. "Minseo," he said, "I was not expecting to see you." "I came to understand," Minseo said. "I came to see if you had changed your mind." Professor Tae-Wan stood up slowly. He walked to a window and looked out at the stars. "I have been reading everything I could find about your world," he said quietly. "I have been looking for mistakes in my lectures. I have been trying to understand how I could have been so wrong. He turned to face her. I was not lying when I taught that class. I believed everything I said. The information was in the textbooks. The data was in the research, but I did not question it. I did not think about what it meant. I did not consider that adaptation could do so much over so many generations. Minseo said nothing. She waited for him to continue. I am sorry, he said. I am sorry that I taught things that were incomplete. I am sorry that I helped create a world that was afraid of possibilities. I want to help you now. I want to help change things, but I do not know how. The council is too powerful. The believers in the old ideas are too strong. Minseo felt some of her anger disappear. She understood that even professors and teachers could be wrong about important things. She understood that the galaxy was built on assumptions that no one had questioned in a very long time. There is a way, she said. We can ask the council to let me go back to Earth. We can bring a research team. We can show them with their own eyes. We can prove that everything I have said is true. They cannot deny direct evidence. They cannot ignore what they see with their own eyes. Professor Tai Wan looked at her with new hope. That is a good idea. An expedition to Earth. Yes. I will help you ask for this. I will use my position to argue for it. I will tell them that this is the only way to know for certain. He smiled. It was a small smile, but it meant something. It meant that maybe the truth could still win. It meant that maybe change was still possible, even when it seemed impossible. The Galactic Council argued for many weeks. Hay-Il and his supporters said that an expedition to Earth would be a waste of resources and a danger to everyone involved. But more and more counselors were beginning to believe that the truth needed to be tested. Finally, they reached a decision. The council would allow an expedition to Earth, but it would be small. Only 15 people could go. Only the best scientists and researchers, and Minseo would lead them. Minseo chose her team carefully. She picked Junho the Zethian because she could trust him. She knew that his telepathic mind was open and honest. She picked a Valorian named Tae Young because he had defended her in front of other Valorians. She picked a Quarian scientist named Seo Jun because he was practical and would not believe in the old ideas. She picked others from different species. All of them had open minds. All of them were willing to see the truth. The day the expedition left, many students came to watch the ship take off. The ship was large and white and shined in the light of the Academy's sun. Minseo stood at the boarding ramp. She felt many emotions. She was excited to go home. She was nervous about what would happen. She was hopeful that this would change the galaxy's understanding. But she was also afraid that something would go wrong, afraid that the council would stop believing no matter what they saw. Junho stood beside her. He sent her thoughts telepathically so that only she could hear them. We will succeed, his mind said to hers. I believe in you. I have felt your memories. I know that Earth is real and beautiful and alive. I will help you show everyone. The team boarded the ship. The engines started with a low humming sound. The ship lifted slowly off the ground. It rose higher and higher until the Academy became small below them. Then the ship turned and pointed toward space, toward the stars, toward Earth. The journey took many weeks. The team spent their time preparing. They studied everything they could about Earth. They looked at old photographs and old films. They read historical records that had been preserved from when humans first left the planet. They trained their bodies for the environment they would soon enter. Minseo taught them about what to expect. She told them about the rain that could come suddenly and fiercely. She told them about the storms that could shake the ground. She told them about the sun that could feel very hot on their skin. She told them about the creatures that lived on Earth. Most of them would not hurt humans if you knew how to act around them, but some were dangerous if you showed them fear. The key to surviving on Earth, she told them, is to respect the planet. Do not see it as your enemy. See it as a teacher. Learn from it. Move with it instead of against it. This is what my people have learned to do. Tae-Young, the Valorian, asked many questions. But how can we trust that something is safe? How will we know when to take shelter? How will we recognize danger before it is too late? You will learn, Min-Seo said, just as my people learned. At first, it will be confusing. You will be scared. But if you pay attention, if you listen to what Earth is telling you, you will understand. Your body will learn to feel the changes in the air before the storms come. You will see patterns in the creature behavior that tell you when danger is near. You will develop an instinct, not through genetics, because that takes many generations, but through experience. Seo-jun the Quarian was very interested in the radiation levels. He had machines that could measure radiation. He had equipment that could study the particles in the air. I want to understand exactly how the radiation works, he said. I want to know why it does not hurt you, but the textbook said it was deadly. The radiation is still there, Min-Seo explained. It is still dangerous. But the levels are not as high as the Council believes, and our bodies have learned to repair damage from radiation. When a cell is damaged by radiation, our bodies fix it faster than your bodies would. We have multiple systems that work together. It took thousands of years for us to develop these systems, but now they work so well that we can live in the radiation without dying. Finally, the ship reached the outer edge of Earth's atmosphere. The screens showed the blue and green planet waiting below. It was beautiful. The team gathered in the observation window to look at it. They had all read about Earth. They had all seen pictures, but seeing it in person was different. It was real. It was alive. It was waiting for them. The ship began to descend. The atmosphere began to push against the ship. Alarms sounded in the control room. The ship's systems warned about radiation. They warned about atmospheric pressure. They warned about storm systems in the area. Many of the team members became nervous. They looked at the screens that showed danger signals everywhere. "Stay calm," Min-Seo said from the center of the bridge. "The ship is designed to handle this. Trust in your equipment, and trust in me. I have made this journey before." The ship pushed through the clouds. Below them, the land appeared. Green and brown and alive with forests and mountains. They could see water everywhere, lakes and rivers and oceans. The land was moving and changing as weather systems passed over it. It was not dead. It was not a tomb. It was a living, breathing world. The ship came down toward a landing area that Min-Seo had chosen. It was a valley between mountains where the environment would be a little calmer. The landing gear touched the ground. The engines shut off. There was a moment of silence. Then the team heard it. The sound of earth, the wind through trees, the rain falling somewhere in the distance, the creatures making their voices heard. Min-Seo stood up. "We are home," she said. "Or at least I am home. For the rest of you, this is just the beginning. We will put on light protection gear, but not full suits. You will feel Earth directly. You will breathe the air and feel the wind. You will understand what it means to be alive on a death world." She walked to the airlock door. Her hand touched the button that would open it. She looked back at her team. Jun-Ho was ready. Tae-Young was ready. Seo-jun was ready. They all nodded to her. They were prepared for what came next. The door opened. The air of Earth rushed in. It smelled like rain and soil and growing things. It smelled like life. Min-Seo took a step out onto her world. Her feet touched the ground. She felt it. She felt the pulse of the planet beneath her feet. Behind her, the team followed. One by one, they stepped out onto Earth. They felt the wind on their faces. They heard the sounds of nature. They experienced what a death world really felt like when you were not afraid of it. When you respected it. Min-Seo looked up at the sky. Clouds were gathering. A storm was coming. She could feel it in the air. She could sense it in the way the wind was moving. "Come," she said to her team. "The planet is welcoming us. The storm will teach you what Earth is really like. Are you ready? The team looked at each other. They had traveled very far. They had come to a place that the galaxy said was impossible. Now they were about to learn if the old textbooks were wrong. Now they were about to discover the truth about Earth. Yes, they said together. We are ready. The storm arrived within an hour. The team watched the sky change from clear blue to dark gray. The wind started to blow harder. The temperature dropped. They could feel the electricity in the air, the sense of power building in the clouds above them. It was frightening and beautiful at the same time. Follow me, Minseo said. I will take you to shelter, but first I want you to experience the storm. I want you to feel what it is really like. She led them to a high point on a hill. From there, they could see the storm coming across the landscape like a wave of power and water. The rain started as small drops. Then it became heavier. Then it became torrential. Water fell from the sky so hard that it was like standing under a waterfall. The wind howled around them. Tae-Young the Valorian put his hands over his face to shield himself. "This is terrible!" he shouted over the noise. "How can anyone survive this?" "Watch the creatures," Minseo said, pointing downward. Below them, in the forests and fields, animals were moving. Birds were flying with the wind instead of fighting it. Smaller creatures were heading to shelter but not panicking. Larger animals stood in the rain and seemed to be relaxed. "They know the storm," Minseo explained. "They know it will pass. They know which areas are safe and which are dangerous. They are not afraid. They are just living. This is what Earth does. It storms sometimes. It is part of the cycle of life here." She let them stand in the rain for a few more minutes. She could feel the team's fear beginning to change into fascination. The storm was not as deadly as they had imagined. It was powerful, yes. It was big and loud and impressive. But it was not trying to kill them. It was just being what storms are. After a while, Minseo led them to a shelter she knew. It was a cave in the side of a mountain protected from the wind. The team huddled inside while the storm raged outside. They were wet and cold and tired, but they were alive. They had experienced the storm and survived. That was only a small storm, Minseo told them. Earth has much bigger ones. But this is what you need to understand. The planet is not your enemy. The weather is not trying to kill you. It is just the planet doing what planets do. Seojun the Quarian had his measuring devices out immediately. He was checking the radiation levels. He was measuring the atmospheric composition. He was recording data about the storm. The radiation levels are high, but not as high as the textbook said, he reported. The atmospheric pressure is unusual, but not impossible to handle. The storm intensity is extreme, but it is not different from storms on many other planets. But the textbook said Earth's conditions were impossible, another team member said. His name was Kite, and he was a hybrid being from a world that had mixed several species together. The data we were taught showed that this planet was too hostile for any life at all. The textbooks were wrong, Minseo said. They measured the planet from far away. They studied it with machines that were not sensitive enough. They made conclusions based on incomplete information. And then, when no one challenged those conclusions, they became accepted as truth. That night, the team sat in the cave and Minseo told them about human history on Earth. She told them about the time before the Death World became so dangerous. She told them about the humans who had chosen to stay. She told them about how the first generations had suffered, how many had died, how the survivors had passed down knowledge about survival. It took 500 years before we really understood the planet, she said. 500 years of small changes in our bodies and our culture, 500 years of learning and adapting. But we did it. And now we are so connected to Earth that we cannot imagine living anywhere else. The next morning, the storm had passed. The team followed Minseo through the forests. She showed them which plants were safe to eat. She showed them which paths the animals used. She taught them to read the signs that nature left everywhere. A bent branch meant something had passed this way recently. Certain bird calls meant that rain was coming. The smell of the air could tell you what time of day it was. They traveled for 3 days. They saw incredible things. They saw forests so dense that sunlight barely reached the ground. They saw cliffs that stretched up so high they seemed to touch the sky. They saw rivers that moved so fast and powerful that they were like liquid roads of energy. They also saw something that shocked them all. They found a human settlement. It was built into the side of a mountain. The structures were made of materials that had been carefully grown and shaped. They looked like they were part of the mountain, not separate from it. There were buildings that seemed to blend seamlessly with the rock and soil. Humans came out to meet them. They looked like Minseo. They had dark hair and strong bodies. They moved with confidence and grace. They welcomed the team without fear. An older human woman named Ji-won spoke to them. She was Minseo's mother. Her arms held Minseo in an embrace for a long time. When she finally let go, there were tears on her face. "You came back," Ji-won said in the language of the academy, which all educated humans learned now. "You came back and brought proof of who we are." The team was shown through the settlement. There were homes. There were places where food was grown. There were water systems that collected rain and filtered it. There were places where knowledge was stored. Libraries made of materials that would last for thousands of years. "How many humans are there?" Junho asked. His telepathic mind was receiving so many impressions from so many minds that he seemed overwhelmed. "We are not sure exactly," Ji-won said. "Perhaps 10,000 scattered across different settlements. We do not keep detailed records because we do not need them. We know each other. We share resources. We work together." The team gathered data and information. Seo Jun tested everything. He took samples of food and water and soil. He measured radiation in different areas. He recorded the construction methods used in the settlement. Everything he found proved that humans had not just survived on Earth. They had thrived. They had built a civilization that was adapted to the planet. Most importantly, the team met other humans and could see with their own eyes that they were healthy. They could see that humans were strong and intelligent and alive. The textbooks had been very, very wrong. Over the next 3 weeks, the team was taken to 5 different human settlements. They saw different ways of living. Some humans lived in mountain caves. Some lived in forests under specially grown protective structures. Some lived in underground cities that had been carved carefully over centuries. Everywhere they went, they saw the same thing. Humans adapted perfectly to Earth. Humans living in harmony with the planet. Humans that the galaxy had thought were extinct and impossible. The team returned to the ship with enough evidence to change everything. Tae-young had documented the architecture. Junho had recorded the telepathic impressions from hundreds of human minds, all confirming the same truth. Seo-jun had measured everything and compared it to the old textbook data, and Kite had interviewed humans and recorded their stories. As the ship lifted off from Earth for the journey back to the academy, Minseo stood in the observation window. She looked down at her world growing smaller beneath her. Her mother had held her one more time before she left. "You will change things," her mother had said. "You will make the galaxy understand that we are not gone, that we are alive, that Earth is not impossible." Minseo believed it now. The evidence was undeniable. The truth had been discovered. Now came the hard part. Now came the time to make the galaxy listen.